Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something most folks miss. If you keep waking up between 2 and 3 in the morning, that ain't your body just being restless. That's not coincidence. That's not insomnia. That is a sign from God. You didn't wake up at 2 a.m. by accident. That's not just your bladder, a weird dream, or your mind playing tricks on you. That's a moment designed for you. A divine interruption in your regularly scheduled life. That's God dialing your soul directly, saying, hey, I've been trying to reach you during the day, but you were too distracted. So now I'm catching you when everything is quiet. And if you're honest, you know that moment feels different. It's not like other times you've tossed and turned. There's something heavy on your spirit, something stirring, and it won't let you go back to sleep. You've been asking for signs. You've been asking for direction, for clarity, for peace, for a breakthrough. But here's the thing. God doesn't always respond in neon lights or booming voices. Sometimes he speaks in the silence, in the stillness, when no one's around to interrupt the message. And that 2 a.m. wake up, that's the meeting. That's the appointment you didn't schedule, but desperately need to show up for. Because in that space, when the world is asleep, God is awake. And he's saying, it's time to talk. It's time to think. It's time to move. A lot of people want big blessings, but they keep sleeping through their wake-up call. You say you want a better life, but when God tries to get your attention, you treat it like an inconvenience. You hit snooze on your calling. You roll over on your growth. But let me tell you something. If something keeps waking you up at the same time, night after night, that's not coincidence. That's consistency. That's purpose. That's God tugging on the parts of you that you've buried beneath doubt, fear, excuses, and comfort. And he'll keep waking you until you start paying attention. This kind of moment isn't about punishment. It's about positioning. It's about preparation. You're not being disturbed. You're being developed. Some of your greatest ideas, clearest thoughts, deepest prayers, and most honest conversations can happen in those early hours. Not because you planned it, but because God did. That's when the noise stops and the truth starts flowing. That's when you hear things you can't hear in the chaos of the day. Things like, you made for more. Things like, start writing that book. Things like, let go of what's breaking you. And the only reason it feels heavy is because it's holy. You can't afford to ignore it. If God is waking you up at 2 a.m., it means he sees something in you that needs to rise. Something that can't wait till morning. Something that's been buried too long. So before you brush it off, before you try to fall back asleep, take a moment, sit with it, listen, because you didn't wake up by accident. You were chosen, and you're being called. The world is quiet between 2 and 3 a.m. Streets are empty, phones are silent, and everything that usually distracts you is finally still. It's in that deep hush that something sacred begins to stir. That silence isn't just a lack of noise, it's an invitation. It's a space where the external world finally steps back so your internal world can speak up. And in that rare, precious stillness, that's when God whispers, not in the thunder of your routine, but in the silence you rarely make time for. That's when your soul, tired of the chaos and the pretending, becomes still enough to listen. Because truth doesn't shout, it waits patiently for quiet hearts. We live in a loud world, a world that tells you to keep moving, keep grinding, keep scrolling, keep numbing whatever hurts. But at 2 a.m., none of that noise is there. Your mind starts to slow down, your walls begin to fall, and that voice you've been ignoring, the one that comes from deep inside you, it finally gets a chance to speak. You start to feel things you've been avoiding. You think about the decisions you've been postponing. You hear that small, steady whisper saying, it's time to grow, it's time to heal, it's time to let go. And that's not your fear talking. That's not anxiety. That's wisdom. That's spirit. That's God. using stillness to reach you. Because stillness isn't just the absence of movement, it's the presence of clarity. And at that hour, clarity has a way of showing up strong. You start to see what matters. You realize who you've become, who you're pretending to be, and who you were really meant to be. And maybe it hurts. Maybe the silence is uncomfortable because you've been running from yourself for a long time. But God uses those quiet moments to bring you face to face with your truth. Not to shame you, but to shape you, to bring you back, to clean you up and set you straight. And he does it with grace, not guilt, with love, not lightning. So when you find yourself awake in those hours, stop trying to silence the silence. Don't rush to fill it with noise. Don't reach for the TV or your phone. Sit in it. Breathe, lean into it, because in that stillness is your reset. In that stillness is where God does his deepest work. That's where broken hearts start mending, where lost minds find direction, where heavy spirits get lifted. You don't need a crowd, a stage, or a sermon. Sometimes all you need is a quiet room and an open heart, because while everyone else is sleeping, God is still working. He's whispering the answers to the questions you've been afraid to ask. He's reminding you that you're not forgotten. He's guiding you back to who you are and calling you toward who you're meant to be, and all you have to do is listen. Stop thinking life is dragging you. That 2 a.m. wake up isn't some kind of punishment, and it's not your anxiety playing games with your mind. It's not just another restless night. It's a pull, a divine tug in the right direction. And I know sometimes it feels like the weight of everything you're carrying is too much, like life keeps throwing you around, pushing you from one problem to the next. But maybe it's not pushing at all. Maybe it's pulling. Maybe God is pulling you out of places you've outgrown, pulling you away from people who can't walk with you into your next chapter, pulling you toward the version of yourself you keep postponing. There's a difference between being pushed by pressure and being pulled by purpose. One drains you, the other builds you. When you're being pulled towards something greater, it can feel uncomfortable, even painful. You'll feel the resistance, the stretching, the tension of letting go of the familiar. But growth isn't comfortable, and movement toward purpose never is. God doesn't pull you with ease. He pulls you with intention. That 2 a.m. wake-up call is a quiet but strong reminder that you've been asking for change, praying for answers, hoping for a breakthrough. And now God is starting the process. But he's not doing it on your schedule. He's doing it when your defenses are down, when your spirit is still enough to feel the shift. We often misinterpret the process. We think we're being punished because things don't look the way we imagine. We think the storm means something is wrong. But sometimes the storm is what it takes to get us unstuck. Sometimes the shakeup is what positions us for the breakthrough. When God pulls, he pulls you out of comfort zones. He pulls you away from mediocrity. He pulls you off the path of settling, not to hurt you, but to bring you closer to the version of yourself that's buried beneath fear, doubt, and delay. That pulling might feel like loss, but it's really alignment. It might look like everything's falling apart, but it's actually falling into place. You are not being thrown around aimlessly. You are not a victim of chaos. You are not being left behind. What you're feeling is purpose knocking. What you're feeling is destiny calling. That tension you're experiencing is God rearranging the pieces of your life to make room for something better. You're being moved, not messed with. And if you could just stop fighting the pull and start flowing with it, you'd see that everything happening is for your good. Every late night wake up, every shift in your spirit, every restless thought, it's all part of the pull. It's not meant to break you. It's meant to build you. Because God never pulls without a plan, and he never moves without a mission. If you got a dream, a gift, a calling, it won't let you sleep. That's how you know it's real. Purpose doesn't whisper politely and wait for you to get ready. Purpose knocks, then it pounds, then it kicks the door down at 2 a.m. because it's tired of waiting on you to stop doubting yourself. It's tired of seeing you push your calling to the side so you can stay comfortable. It's tired of you pretending you don't know what you were born to do. That restlessness you feel in the middle of the night, that's not just random. That's your purpose trying to get your attention. And it'll keep waking you up until you stop ignoring it. When you've been given something special, something that was planted inside of you by God Himself, it refuses to be quiet. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if it's inconvenient. Purpose doesn't check your schedule or ask for permission. It shows up when your soul is ready, even if your mind is still making excuses. That dream you've had since you were a kid, that vision that keeps flashing in your head, an idea that won't go away no matter how many times you try to be realistic, that's purpose. And it's louder than your sleep. Some of the most powerful moments you'll ever experience don't happen when you're well rested. They happen when you're restless, when you've had enough of the routine, when you're tired of just surviving and you want to start thriving. That 2 a.m. wake up is not a disruption. It's a divine reminder. It's God saying, I put something in you and I'm not letting you sleep on it anymore. You weren't created to just coast through life. You were created to make noise, to leave impact, to shine. And that's why purpose doesn't let you rest. It's trying to remind you of who you are. You might think you're too late, too broken, too tired. But if it's still waking you up in the middle of the night, it means it's still alive. And as long as it's alive, it's waiting for you to get serious, waiting for you to stop doubting and start doing. You don't need a full plan. You don't need everyone's approval. You just need to get up and start answering that knock. Because purpose doesn't come fully formed. It comes as a seed. It grows when you water it with faith, action, and consistency. So if your sleep keeps getting interrupted, maybe it's time to stop fighting it. Maybe it's time to stop calling it insomnia and start calling it what it is. Divine agitation. That thing inside you that won't rest until you do what you were made to do. You can keep trying to ignore it, but it won't go away because your purpose is persistent. It's patient, but it's powerful. And it's louder than your excuses, louder than your fear, and definitely louder than your sleep. Every champion had a 2 a.m. moment. Every person who's ever done something great, who's ever broken through the odds, who's ever stepped into their calling, had a night when sleep couldn't hold them. That's the moment when dreams start stirring so loud they shake your spirit awake. It's not about insomnia. It's not about stress. It's about something greater pulling at you saying, get up. There's something you need to see. There's something I need to show you. Greatness doesn't wait until the conditions are perfect. It doesn't sleep in until noon and hope inspiration comes knocking. Greatness shows up at 2 a.m., tired, raw, unfiltered, and it asks if you're ready to rise. That idea that keeps coming back, that feeling you can't shake, that prayer that keeps forming on your lips in the dark, it's not random. It's the beginning of your turning point. Champions are made in the hours no one sees. When the world is asleep, the future is being formed in the hearts of people who are awake, not by choice, but by purpose. You think it's just another sleepless night, but it's not. It's a divine meeting, a moment where God says, let me speak to the part of you you've been ignoring all day. And if you're willing to lean into that, if you're brave enough to sit in the stillness, that's where your life can begin to change. We glamorize success, but we forget about the sacrifice behind it. The long nights, the quiet tears, the silent prayers. Every person who's ever built something meaningful had a night when they questioned everything and still chose to believe. They heard the whisper of doubt and the louder whisper of destiny. That's when vision is born, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Not when the applause is loud, but when the room is silent. And it's in that silence where the decision is made to give up or go forward. That's where champions are forged. There's a different kind of clarity that comes at 2 a.m. You see things for what they really are. You feel what matters and what doesn't. You're not distracted by noise, by ego, by performance. You strip down to your truth. And in that raw honesty, your purpose finds its voice. It's not the loud kind of voice. It's the deep kind. The kind that doesn't need volume because it's full of conviction. And if you listen to it, if you really hear it, it will change your direction. Champions don't sleep through their calling. They rise even when it hurts. They pay attention to the inconvenient moments. They trust the timing even when they don't understand it, because they know that what happens in the dark will one day shine in the light. That 2 a.m. moment might look small, but it's the seed of something huge. It's the moment you stop running. It's the moment you start building. It's the moment you say yes, not to the easy path, but to the right one. God wakes you to work on what you've been ignoring. That 2 a.m. alarm that keeps shaking you out of your sleep, it's not just a random glitch in your rest cycle. It's not about restlessness. It's about realignment. It's grace in motion. It's mercy knocking on your heart one more time, saying, I haven't given up on you yet. That relationship you're not healing, the one you keep pretending doesn't hurt you anymore, that needs your attention. That gift you keep tucking away, convincing yourself you're not ready, not qualified, not talented enough to use it. That gift is still waiting on you. And that prayer you've been putting off because you don't want to feel vulnerable or admit how much you need help, that's the conversation God is inviting you to have in the silence of the night. See, God doesn't wake you up to shame you. He doesn't wake you up to remind you of how far you've fallen or how much you fail. He wakes you up because he knows what's inside you. He knows what he placed in you. He knows what you're capable of. And when you won't pause long enough during the day to face what needs fixing, he'll meet you when the noise is gone, when your defenses are down, when your soul is just quiet enough to feel something real. That wake-up call is not judgment, it's an invitation. It's God saying, let's deal with this now. Let's not keep pushing this off. You've been running from the pain, from the calling, from the responsibility of growth. You filled your days with distractions and your nights with avoidance. But purpose can't be ignored forever. Healing can't be postponed endlessly. That's why you feel that ache in the middle of the night. That's why you wake up with your heart pounding and your thoughts racing. That's God showing up with a flashlight, not to expose you, but to guide you back to what matters. He's giving you another shot, another moment to be honest, another moment to surrender, another moment to pick up what you've dropped. That passion that once burned in you, it's still there. That relationship that deserves forgiveness and grace, it still has a chance. That prayer you've been afraid to pray, God is still listening. You don't have to be perfect to begin. You just have to be present. That's what the 2 a.m. moment is for. Not to fix it all at once, but to take one small step back in the right direction. God knows the things you bury, the conversations you avoid, the fears you've normalized, but instead of condemning you, he keeps waking you up, not to punish, but to position, not to criticize, but to correct. Every time he wakes you, it's because he still believes in what he put in you. That 2 a.m. alarm is not noise, it's a nudge. It's God's way of saying, I see you, I'm not done with you, let's work on this together.